Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another edition of the Team Building Podcast. We've got an amazing guest here with us. We're talking about scaling up with farming and expanding with seller leads. So we've got a lot of stuff to get into. Before that, let me bring in my esteemed co-host, my colleague, the man, the myth, the legend, freshly back from Arizona. So I'm sure you have a nice tan. Jeff Cohn, what's up?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. And Scott, so excited to talk to you today on this call. Guys, I just got back from Arizona. Unfortunately, Scott and I didn't get together while I was there. Literally just landed last night. So when I'm back up there, Scott, we'll have to go grab a bite to eat and hang out a little bit. But I'm really excited about this one because for the last 5 to 10 years, I've heard so many people say print is dead. Nobody should put money towards farming neighborhoods. Doesn't work. You can't get a positive ROI. And these guys have built a very, very successful business implementing mailers. And so we're going to learn more today about some of their strategies that they've deployed and how they've made it profitable and how they've built a huge business around it. So thank you again, Scott, for coming on to this podcast with us today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome.
Well, Scott, give everybody an idea, kind of a 60-second overview of who you are, where you are, and what you do.
I'm vice president of the Kenny Klaus team out here in Mesa, Arizona. We're with Keller Williams. And we've been focusing on farming now. We've been around since 1999. Kenny went full-time in 2003. And we just kind of built with revenue, started with a farm of about 1,700 homes. And right now, last month, we mailed to 56,000 homes in Arizona. And then another 8,000 in San Diego. We have a partner farm out there.
Wow. So first give everybody an idea of kind of the structure of your team and how you guys have expanded. What does your team consist of?
We've got a support team of 7 people, I believe. We've got 2 transaction managers. Kenny and I both have an executive assistant. We have a listing manager. She's full-time. She handles the logistics of all of our listings. And then we have a field manager that goes out and services our listings. And we do get a couple. We're a HUD broker. We have, usually about 2 or 3 at a time. He'll go out and manage those as well. And for our agents, we start all of our agents generally as a buyer agent. We don't really like to have people live under a ceiling. And so we allow them after a little while, and when we look and see what opportunities match up and getting them to understand a community, we'll move them into a farm opportunity when one becomes available. Sure. And so right now we have a team of 20, all but 2 of us are licensed, and so 5 of our licensed are admin, but they do production too as well.
And then Scott, what's your role and what's Ken's role and how are they different?
Kenny handles, he's in coaching with our agents. I also coach them. We take them once a month for about a half hour one-on-one. So they get one of us once a month, and so it's 2 coaching sessions. I handle a lot of the stuff that's happening in the building. Kenny is visionary. He still handles some clients from time to time. So do I. Neither of us have production goals is kind of how we're a little bit different than the team. We're not using team leads or anything like that. Mm-hmm. No production goals. So anything that we do in real estate is just a little bit of bonus to the team.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're in operations, boots on the ground, implementation. Kenny's going to serve more as the visionary, the CEO, the mouthpiece of the team.
Yeah, Kenny's more of if you like the disc, Kenny's more of the high I with a lower D. I'm a high D with a lower I.
Oh, wow.
And we find that we mix pretty well together.
Cool. How did you guys meet? How long have you known each other?
We've known each other. We've been in business for about 5.5 years. Okay. I was actually a pastor before, happened to be down the street. I was at 3065, and now I'm at 2919. So I didn't move very far.
Wow.
But
cool.
I had left there. I was looking for something, and he had posted on Facebook that he was looking for somebody. It was internet marketing was all he was looking for there. Social media, and I was looking for a gig, and so people matched us up, and we got together, and things have really grown over the last 5 years.
That's awesome. A lot of people that come out to Omaha, we host a team building workshop once a month, and a lot of people will come here and they are the Kenny, and they always say, where do I find my Scott?
Yeah.
Where do I find a guy like Scott? And it's not easy, guys. I mean,
I had to find a guy. I had to find myself a Kenny. So
yeah, where was your Kenny? And it sounds cliche and kind of silly, and we tease about it, but a lot of times, like, it takes a true leader to realize that they have a lot of weaknesses, and they have to find people to help fill those weaknesses around them. I learned that concept 15 years ago. If you read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, Kiyosaki was asked, or he brings up in the book, that he's no expert at any one thing. He just surrounds himself with experts in everything. And that's really the key to really growing and scaling a successful business. So I want to address the comment or the word or title of farming. In real estate, I think it probably started in the late 90s, where people would farm neighborhoods. Agents would own subdivisions or neighborhoods based on a geographical basis. And what they would do is they would send out a mailer, a flyer, a calendar every month or 2 times a month, or a newsletter or something like that. And the word farming came to be because you obviously think of a farmer planting a field and nurturing that seed, and it grows, et cetera. I would argue today, if you just look at the semantics of it, that when you generate leads off the internet, you still are farming, but you're no longer farming a geographical world. You're farming your database, data mining, data scrubbing, et cetera. So I'm really excited to hear what you guys do, how you deploy, I guess, your capital in generating this 56,000 mailers in a month. Obviously, that's going to cost a lot of money. So hopefully we can talk today about what the overall cost is, and then what kind of returns you guys have been seeing over the last couple of years.
Absolutely. So there's a big difference when we're marketing in a large scale. We're either shotgunning and hitting our metro area, which is basically our farm can be any size. Our farm can be our entire MLS, and for most agents, that's the case, or a city or something like that. And so when we market in mass, we're just trying to hit everybody and let them know we're in real estate. So if we're on the radio, if we're on TV, right, we're marketing to everybody.
Allow me to interrupt you a lot too, Scott. So just so the audience knows, shotgunning is where you're not consistently mailing or trying to reach a certain audience. You're just throwing the message across the large group.
I'm throwing it all out there, and I'm hoping that I'm going to meet somebody today that's thinking about buying or selling real estate, and they're ready to put action to it. Farming's a little bit different. Farming, we're going to be paying a little bit more attention to psychology, and we're understanding the concept of reticular activation. That's where something is in your head and you start to file it. It's got to hit repeatedly for you to file it. I'll give you an example of reticular activation. I've got my soda here. It's Diet Coke. I've been drinking Diet Coke all my life. My family, we had blood sugar issues, and so we always drank Diet Coke even as a kid. But I'd go to my grandma's house, and she would give us Coke. And it would be in a glass, and it would have ice right in the top. And that was the only place I had it. And so now today, if I go to a restaurant and the server brings me out my Diet Coke, but by mistake, it's Coke, and it's in a glass, and it's got ice, the minute that hits my lips and I feel the glass, I feel the ice, I get that taste, I am right back in my grandmother's kitchen. Mm-hmm. I can see her, everything. I get that feeling. It's a nice feeling. I remember Grandma. Right. And that's what reticular activation is. And so we want to do that. And the whole goal of farming, we farm consistently to a specific geographic area for the sole purpose of that when anyone in that market thinks of real estate, the first thing that comes to their mind is our brand, the Klaus team. And so we want to hit multiple times in multiple different ways. And really, we're not wanting to only hit the people that are thinking about buying and selling real estate. We want to hit the people that aren't thinking about buying and selling real estate and make it so that they are looking at our piece, that they're engaging with our piece, that they're engaging with our brand, and doing so willingly, so that when they are thinking about buying and selling real estate, we're the first thing that comes to their mind. NAR says it's any other studies, it's between 67 and 73% of sellers only interview one agent.
Right.
So I want to be that agent.
So I think one of the things, Scott, and you touch on some great points here, a lot to talk about already. You're pushing your brand. All these people are seeing it. You think of Coca-Cola and you use it as the example, and the irony is I think they've probably done this better than any brand that exists in the U.S. or worldwide, right? Coca-Cola. Yeah. Your brand is a real estate team at Keller Williams. I think my number one question personally, selfishly, is how do you distinguish your team's brand and Keller Williams when you send out these mailing pieces? How many of these people are thinking, wow, Keller Williams, I'm going to use them when I go to buy or sell? And how many are thinking, I'm going to use the Kenny Klaus team when I go to buy or sell?
Well, what's funny, you bring that up. We've been branding for such a long time, and our in Arizona, we have to show the brokerage on everything.
Yeah.
But the team can be somewhat prominent.
Yeah.
And so our team branding tends to be a little bit more prominent. They see it on everything. But what's interesting is we will get sign calls on other Keller Williams agents' listings that are in our farm because they just assume it's a Kenny Klaus team listing.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
And it's not just Keller Williams. We get it for other brokerages too. It might be one that is red, white, and blue. Some other colors. Even if it's different coloration, they'll still give us a call because of it. But when we market, we use our, and I don't know, there you can see it. This is one of our marketing pieces. It's just a 8-page newsletter, and on the front of it, it's got our listing sign. It's got different branding at the top, though.
There's 8 pages in that. We flip through just slow,
Yeah.
just to kind of get an idea of what it looks
So
like.
here on the front, we just do a bunch of teasers
Yep.
to get them to open it. On the back, too, we want to make sure we've got our branding and calls to action because we don't know if it's going to land this way or this way when they open up their mail. And then we have community news stories consistently.
Oh, cool.
We want them to know that they're opening it up for that. The centerfold is, of course, going to be real estate stats, recent sales, active listings, those kind of things, and more community news and information, a couple lender ads to pay the bills. And that's the piece. It's been consistent to that farm. We didn't, you don't always have to start that way on our new farms. We don't start with an 8-pager. We start either if we're going full-scale farming in a new farm with one of our new agents, we'll do a 4-page. It's very similar, and I don't have any on my desk right now.
That's okay.
And we do a 4-pager, and it mostly community news with the real estate pieces put in.
So run me through the strategy real quick. So you're taking a new agent into a new farm area. What's the criteria for a new agent getting the right to have you put essentially venture capital into their business? And what's the limits? What's the risk that you guys are willing to take?
Well, we're partnering that risk with the agent. So the agent's going to pay half of the marketing costs. We're going to change up the splits a little bit for that agent. It's not going to look, the leads that they get out of the farm isn't going to look like a normal listing split for a team. It's going to be a little bit greater because they contributed to the financial investment in doing that.
And where are they at? Where are they usually at in their career trajectory when they get that opportunity?
You know what? When they join our team, we hire both seasoned agents and we hire new agents. We hire new agents because they don't have bad habits, and we hire seasoned agents because they've come to a point where they realize that they really do need the resources of a team. And when they're seasoned, though, we need to see that they're teachable because we are going to change the way that they're going to think about doing real estate. So we've got some people that are farming that have been in real estate for just over a year, and they're doing pretty well. We just brought somebody on that's been doing real estate I think he's been doing real estate for 20, 25 years, came to our team, and he got a farm a little bit sooner than others would have, but he had the backing to do that. They also need to go through our listing academy, which is an in-house thing that we do. They have to shadow other agents so that they get our listing presentation down and they learn all the scripts. But the bulk of it is just, when you do the kind of volume that we do, we want all of our listings to look exactly the same when they come in. Our listing manager will never see the property in person, and she's going to do all the logistics of getting it on the market and marketing that. And so it has to be turned in the same specific way every single time. And so the bulk of it is here. We're going to take you out. We're going to walk you through doing a listing. Then we're going to take them out to a vacant property, and they're going to list it for us basically and complete all that stuff. And if they do that, then we start to let them do their own sphere and list that. And so they need to get a few of those under their belt before then they start going out. They're also spending some time in the months before we actually launch a farm, and they're getting to know that farm, because if they're going to be if we're going to call them the local market expert, they're going to have to be a local market expert.
Right.
And so they're going to learn more about that zip code than any of the rest of us know, and they need to show that they know that before they go out and farm.
On that piece you just showed us, if you were to do that for another agent, let's say I decided to move there and work for you and you were willing to hire me as one of your top agents and you were going to give me
send me your resume.
Right, I will right after we get off, actually. I'll have my assistant do that real quick, actually, right now. And you get, you decide you're going to give Jeff Cohn ABC region. How much of that piece that gets mailed out is going to say Jeff Cohn? Is it going to have my picture? Is it going to have my phone number? Am I going to get a unique URL where they land on my, business card online?
Yeah, so we use a couple. So we use BoomTown, and so with BoomTown, we use the subdomains, and so
perfect.
For you it would be jeff.azhomechoice.com, and so all those leads would come to you, and so we're going to direct some of those to you. Of course, we use zip code domains, and so if you were to go in like 85298.com, and you go there, we've got that zip code domain, and so we're going to direct all that traffic to you. So we're going to create a little website. It's an easy little website we'll create that just has different neighborhoods in there, and people can click on those. It directs them over to the BoomTown landing page for that. Okay. And of course, all those leads are going to you. Okay. We use a different site for our seller lead gen because we want to have a really good home valuation. The things that we always want to see in a good home valuation site is when you come to it, is it asking just for the address, or is it asking for your name, your zip code, your phone number, your email, your address, your ATM PIN code, all that stuff? If they see all that stuff,
right,
most of them are going away. If it's just the address, I'll type that in. So they go and they type that in, and then they see all the other stuff, and they go, well, heck with this, I'm out of here. That's fine for us because after about a half hour with a good lead gen site for that, it'll say, oh, this is a partial. We call it a partial. It's somebody who put the information in, but then they walked away. So we'll go do a quick CMA, go drop by, and we use the little glitch script. Hey, we noticed that you came to our site. You were looking for a home valuation. Apparently there was a glitch because you didn't get the home valuation that you wanted, so we just decided to bring that by in.
Are you using Seller Lead Suite then with BoomTown for that?
We actually aren't. We're using Home Value Request. I know that the BoomTown's making some changes and growing that up a little bit. One of the things that we really like about about the prime seller leads is because we're farming in different areas of the valley, we're able to geographically route those leads. And so the agents get them a lot faster without us having to go through all of them, because every time those newsletters land, we know we drop them all in Phoenix. They go to the different zip codes, sometimes on different days, but we know when they hit, right? Because all of a sudden those home valuation leads keep coming.
And where does, since you guys are kind of at least leading a little bit with seller leads, how does BoomTown fit into the overall structure of the team?
All of our agents use BoomTown. The big thing for BoomTown for us, a lot of people see it as a lead generation tool, and it's not for us because we actually don't do any pay-per-click at all. We do some Zillow, which then we also do Trulia. Yep. We have some Realtor.com, not very much. Most of what we do is stuff that's coming in through
Scott. Are you about to say BoomTown's a CRM?
You know what?
Is that what it is? Is it a CRM? I tease so much, Scott, because so many people think it's a lead generation site, and it can be that, but it's a CRM.
And we do use a different product for a database. We haven't used BoomTown as a full-fledged CRM. But what it is it's a lead nurture tool. Yeah. And if you're dealing with seller leads, 95% of them are not asking you to come to their house today for a listing appointment, which makes them a nurture. It's not a come list me. Yep. And so most of the leads that come in are nurtures. If you look at buyers, most of them are coming to you and filling out that Zillow form or doing pay-per-click because they've got their pre-qual in hand and they're ready to go look at homes, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's I've never had that.
Yeah. small percentage. Yeah.
So,
all right. So, Kenny, are you saying that you're running the seller leads that the PSL generates for you? Do they then get fed into BoomTown to get up on BoomTown Smart Drip?
Automatically. And so we direct it to. We have a little special Gmail account. BoomTown makes it really easy to route leads. All you got to do is send them to a Gmail account that you set some filters in.
Okay.
And so they drop right in and they go to the right agent. And so the agents are putting in their notes, they're setting to-dos, and those to-dos are incredibly valuable. And then with the sellers, they're setting them up on e-alerts, which is the same thing we do with buyers. We're just setting them up a little less infrequent, a little more infrequently, and we're putting them for just the criteria of their property. Same way you would do with just doing a CMA, and we're just going to show them all these different properties that are coming on the market that look just like theirs.
Let me address that real quick. On the e-alert, what he's talking about in BoomTown, that's kind of a buzzword for an automatic listing update email. Mm-hmm. So anybody that doesn't even have a system like a BoomTown or Conversion Commissions Inc., you can do this with your MLS. So every person, I always tell my team, Scott, and I think you'd agree with this, anyone you know that owns anything should get an automatic email anytime a house or property, land, vacation home hits the market that's similar to the one they already own. Even if it's just set up to go out once a month, it helps people keep tabs on their arguably one of their most expensive investments. And most people will say yes. It's a great dialogue to say, hey, would you like to know what your property is worth every month? I can send you something to show you what some competitive, other property they're hitting the market like yours looks like. So I think that's a really great strategy. Hey, to turn the conversation real quick back to those marketing pieces that you guys are sending out, have you reached out? I saw on that piece you showed us, there were some other companies that looked like on the top. Have you reached out to like a title company, an inspection company, a home warranty company to have them help pay for those advertisements? Yeah,
and so we've got two lenders in there, and they do take a piece of that. One of the things that's kind of interesting about the last couple of years is we've had to become a little bit more open to seeing different opportunities in which we can partner with some of these other companies. Title companies, there's generally not many opportunities, but with lenders here in Arizona, they cannot pay for leads, right?
Right.
But they can do advertising, and in most cases, if you're going to partner with a lender on an advertising piece, they can pay for the percentage that they're in that piece. Yep. And so if you want to be in 90% of that piece, they can be in 10% and they can only cover 10%. One of the neat things about if you're doing a community newsletter versus an ad, most of the space in this is not advertising. Because it's, we have nothing to do with the turkey trot or the Thanksgiving food drive or the free music at the park. That's all community news. It's not advertising space. And so we calculate the amount of space that we're actually doing advertising, add what the lenders are doing, and so then they can pay for that percentage.
I hope the viewers caught that because it was all really boring, but he just told you how he gets the lender to pay half of his advertising budget.
Well, it's not half, but it's getting
the percentage of space utilized on the piece that's going out. And so another strategy I heard similar to this, Scott, was if you got 9 other people, so if a title company was willing to write a $500 check and home warranty, home inspection, a termite inspection, 9 other companies, you essentially could pay 1/10 and they could pay 9/10 as long as everyone shared the same amount of space. The question is what real estate, using the pun, is most valuable? And our argument would probably be the front and the back. And then you put everybody else in the middle, and hopefully your phone starts ringing, but those guys are able to help pay for that ad spend.
Absolutely. So, and then just, when you're putting in the community news, not only are you making it something that the people actually want to look at, because newsflash, they don't want to look at your advertising.
No.
I know you think that they do, but they don't. They might want to look at the market stats, but they don't want to see your advertising. And so all we're doing is phrasing our piece into something that they're going to want to look at. And then we're going to hit them over and over and over again. If we're shotgunning, like we said before, we're just shooting it everywhere, and we're hoping that somebody will see it at least 5 times, because science says that they got to see it those 5 times before anything actually happens.
Now with this, you guys are essentially generating, and maybe you can fill me in on this portion too, but you guys are generating community-oriented content, which is insanely good for SEO. I mean, are you seeing any SEO benefits? Is this all going up on the main blog of your main site and pulling in natural traffic?
So we do have an online newsletter as well for our big farm, is 85209.com. We post stories that are in the newsletter. We post stuff that's not. It's all community focused. We also do social media, so we have Facebook pages for all those different zip codes. One of the neat ones one of our farm agents, Suzanne, she posted a news story about a neighborhood that does Christmas lights, and it has just been blowing up. I keep getting these notifications that people are engaging with it. Some of the things that people really got on, Apple was bringing in and building a plant in our farm. Anytime we posted on that, people just loved it. We thought that was huge. We were actually the second media entity in the Phoenix Metro to announce that Apple was moving there.
What?
We beat out ABC, we beat out NBC, we beat out.
How'd you do that?
We heard it on the talk radio. It popped up. We called over and confirmed it was somebody at the city, and wrote the smallest story you can imagine,
Right.
posted it, and then started revising the story so it got bigger. But we posted it, and then we started to see ABC post
That's
it and
cool.
those kinds of things, which was fun. But the number one thing that people have engaged with was when we announced that there was a new Dairy Queen coming in.
What?
And it blew up. People were sharing it. People were liking it, commenting, tagging their friends. And as a result, then our Facebook page grew as
How
well.
often have you gone out, Scott? And this has been something I've wanted to do more on my flagship team here in Omaha. What about going out to the new Dairy Queen that's going to be launching, and in your article include a free Frosty for all of the people that are reading that article, and get Dairy Queen to pay for it?
That would be a great idea. We also, in addition to that, we have them giving a ice cream cake to every one of our buyers in the buyer move-in buckets. We have coupons,
nice.
And so, and what's crazy is we don't call them when we run out. They call us and say, "Hey, I bet you're running out. Here's another stack," and it's got our logo on it and everything.
What? That is awesome. That's a great idea. All right, so let's get into some analytics. It sounds fun. It's cool. I love the idea. When I first got licensed 10 years ago, I thought that was the only way, when internet leads really hadn't picked up. Today, my team split into 1/3 of our deals that executed this year. We sold 600 sides, and 200 of those were internet leads, including social media, Google AdWords, Facebook, et cetera. 1/3 was prospecting, so agents jumping on the phone, making cold calls, expired, FSBO, just listed, just sold, and open houses. And then 1/3 was sphere of influence, staying in contact with your sphere, taking people out to lunches, following like 7 levels of communication type of stuff. So you're obviously talking about lead gen through mailing pieces. I know my analytics really, really well. I'm sure you do as well, in terms of if I sent out 10 mailers, and I'm sure in your business it's 1,000 mailers, how many people are going to call? Out of the people that call, how many are you going to meet with? Out of the people you meet with, how many are you going to actually make money off of? And then at the very end of the day, when you do get that commission check, what is the actual return on investment, and what is the cost to procure that lead? Would you have any of those numbers for the audience?
I got some of those numbers for you. Okay. So we're closing about 509 transactions this year for 122 million, and of that, 18%. That's our written. Our closed is 17.8% is farming.
Wow.
And it used to be a larger percentage, but the last couple of years we've been making a more concerted effort to focus on our database. And because we've been farming to these people, and of our database, most of them came in through farming. And this year our database exceeded our farming for the first time. So we're at 22% of our database. Of course, where did those people come from? Well, most of them came from the farm.
Exactly. Yep.
We sold them the house that they're in, and hopefully we should be able to do that again. Interesting stat, 83% of buyers say that they'll use the same agent
Right.
they used before. 11% do.
Right.
And so that gap is where we live in farming, because somebody else sold them that house. We want to get them from there. And so
are you farming back, and this is just staying in contact with your sphere, but are you sending mailers to everyone that's bought or sold with you?
We do saturation. So every single person on the route is going to get it.
Oh, okay.
So regardless of if they're our client or they've been there.
So you don't create a specific piece just for the people that were your sphere, people that bought, sold, or referred to you?
No, we do some, we have an email newsletter that goes out to everybody. We've got a preferred client list. It's our K list.
Yep.
And so our top 100 referring clients get to be on the K list. They get a premium piece every month. This month it was a vacuum mug One of those nice ones, and they all have our name on it.
How many people are nice? How many people are in your database that you
in our database
that you email to?
6,000.
6,000?
Yeah, 6,000.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to the analytics. So 20%, that's still super impressive.
Yeah, and so 17%.
Arguably 2/5, 40% has come at some point from farming, right?
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned too, Agent Sphere, if anybody's ever thinking about joining a team, you can agree with me. I heard your Agent Sphere stats, and they're way more than a solo agent would ever see. 17% of our business comes from our Agent Sphere, and when we look at the agents when they were on their own, they never got that much business from their sphere.
Tell the audience why.
Because agents come on a team, they get the leverage of the brand, they get all the resources of the brand. None of my agents were able to provide a free moving truck to all of their clients. They never had 2 full-time transaction managers who between the 2 of them have about 50 years of real estate experience under their belt, and just a gamut of other things. But they're also learning the right scripts to use. They're being challenged to do it. If a lot of the folks in KW, they've been to Bold, they know how to engage their sphere, and they're learning so much more. And all of a sudden, they're on this team. They're paying team splits on everything that's from their sphere, but they're doing way more sphere business than they would ever do before.
Matt, I like this guy. Have you thought about doing recruiting? I would love to bring you to Omaha. It's nice. It's 5 degrees outside right now. You'd love how cold it is. I love it, man. You're saying all the right stuff to make me happy, man. So we parrot everything you're saying all the time.
Let's talk about the accountability piece a bit.
The conversion ratio. So, when we're mailing out, we're generally, because of the bulk that we do, and we're smart about how we print as well. In fact, our printer used to be an agent on my team. He was one of the top agents on my team. He came from printing world, did real estate for about 5 years, and then went back to the printing world. And it works out real nice for us. Doing this piece, there is 20,000 of those, so it brings the cost down. When we do our 4-page and our postcards are thinner because we use the same paper as we do on the other. It gangs them all together, and so we do it all on a single run. Whenever we're going to do, like one of our farmers, he wanted to do a postcard in the middle of the month in addition to his 4-page newsletter, and so we gang that at the same time. They warehouse and send it later. Okay. And so because of all that stuff, we're able to print, they process it and mail it for us. We used to do that all ourselves, and it was crazy. They take it to the post office, and everything all in is under 30 cents a piece.
Okay, so just for our audience sake, somebody that's not as sophisticated yet as you guys are, if they just want to do a postcard, not a 4-page or 8-page, just a postcard, and they're going to send it to, call it 20,000 people, a whole zip code essentially. What can they expect to pay per piece? I mean, is 30 cents possible?
It is. Local printers are great. Some people still think, I think it was, a lot of people were saying, I think it's Got Print. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But there's one of those, a couple of those internet printers that do pretty well. Local is best as far as postage goes because it tends to be about 2 cents less than if you mail it from, if you're in Arizona, you're mailing it from Washington State. We now mail our San Diego postcards from San Diego, because it was an extra 2 cents to drop it at Phoenix. 2 cents per adds up real fast.
And in my mind,
found a local printer out there.
Okay, and I agree with all that. I know we can pay 19 cents for just getting the piece mailed, and then to produce a postcard, I think it was 10 cents. So our numbers were about really similar, 29 cents.
EDDM is 17.5 cents. So if you're doing saturation, then it's way cheaper. I mean, if you're going to send a mailing list, you're almost going to double that.
Yep, and the more you're going to print, the more money you're going to save. So if you're considering printing, doing 10,000 a month, print them all, up front, you can get a lot better cost.
And if you're just interested in doing like an 8x8, we're doing maybe 2 pieces a month or 1 piece a month over that kind of time span, and it's going to be the same piece. Granted, people like to see more current information. But if you're going to do that, there's teams out there that do the exact same mailer every single time and do see success. But you can warehouse those, print them all in bulk, warehouse them, and only send out some of them, and that brings the cost down significantly.
Awesome. One thing, and we're jumping around, then we're going to come back to the analytics, which I just had thought of it. How do you know, and in BoomTown, just so everyone knows, in any CRM, you can tag the lead that comes in so that you can give credit to where the money was spent. To have your return on investment, to know it, you have to know where the lead came from to begin with, and then you have to close it out and give credit to where the lead came from when it closes, and track the commission that came off of that, and then the cost it cost you to acquire said lead. So for you guys, when these calls come in and you have agents that own certain territories, how does that agent know it wasn't a sign call? It wasn't just a friend of a friend who referred them? How do they know it was from the mailing piece? And how are you tracking that?
Generally, if it's a friend that refers them, then we'll hear the anecdote. Because people always say
from
that.
somebody.
So you're looking for them to tell the story of how they came to you.
And so
you
for
don't have a special
farming,
line, you don't have like a bat phone that means it came from a mailer. They just have to ask the person where they found out.
yeah, and generally we'll know if it came from branding because they actually went to the site. They didn't come through Google. They didn't come through Zillow or anything like that.
Oh, you can tell when they just physically typed in.
Yeah, and so those come in as direct. So if they type it in direct, we're going to assume that everything that's direct comes from our farming efforts, which means all the branding that we're doing. It may not be the actual print. Maybe they saw one of our 3 wrapped vehicles drive by. Maybe they saw us in the high school
branding
lot.
Yep.
And then there's times that we'll use a different website just to get them there. But anything that we're doing online, BoomTown has the great ability to tag the end of the link. And then you can see exactly where that came from. So if we're doing Facebook ads, the lead comes in, I know exactly which ad, I know what property the pictures were of that they came in.
So out of that 17.5% that you said was from your mailers, are you counting all the direct leads and pretty much anything else that's coming in as a mailer lead?
So those are that's just we don't track all the leads as much. We go in and we look, maybe once a year, but the main focus is what did we write on, what did we close on.
Okay.
And that's the bulk of what we track on an ongoing basis. When we track our agents' productivity, we're always tracking what is their written to goal.
But you're not linking executed contracts to the mailing piece I sent in October, the mailing piece I sent in September. You're not
No,
giving
it's
credit to
going
those
to be in
mailing.
general, farming in general.
Well, damn it, Scott. That's going to make the conversion ratios really challenging.
It does, but we are consistent. We don't skip a month. And so it all goes together. If we skipped months or if we changed,
you can feel the difference.
If we changed up the piece significantly, we really don't. The only time we change it up is when in December when we add a calendar magnet to each of those pieces.
Okay.
So we sent out 56,000 calendar magnets as well this.
Wow.
Good God Almighty.
So help us feel comfortable around the number. So you're about 30 cents a piece. You just sent 56,000 pieces. That means it cost you $15,000 or $17,000, but you didn't cover all that. Let's say
our agents covered half of the ones that they're in. Our main farm, we don't have an agent covering half of that because it's our main historic farm. That split is significantly different than all the other ones.
Right.
Maybe somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 is what you guys ponied up yourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's call it $10,000, and you don't need to give us the number. Let's just call it 20, because one of the ways I look at it, I always use like my biblical. Matt always laughs because I always say we need to be good stewards of our lender vendors' contributions, because if those lender vendors went away, which one day they could, RESPA could make one judgment, say no more, and now that's a cost we have to incur. So looking at it as a real business that's scalable and leverageable, we have to pretend like we're paying all of it. So let's pretend like we're covering that full cost of that 56,000 piece mailer. So let's call it 17,000. How many do you think you're going to get? How many transactions would you need to get to break even? Probably 2 or 3 in your market, but for you to actually make money, I'm guessing you'd need about 6 or 7 units off of each month's mailing pieces that go out. Is that about right?
Yeah, and we close about 42 to 50 a month.
That you're saying is directly from that, though? Because you said
not directly from that.
Right.
Some of it is our sphere. And when we're looking at that database, one of the things that we have to understand is it's not just our database activities. Most people are not going to open up our email newsletter. Most of our clients don't come to our movie event or our client events, those kind of things. But if they're living in our farm areas, they're getting that reminder.
Yep.
And so it's not just for the people that didn't do business with us; it's for the people that have.
Yep.
That
it's building your brand.
That bleeds over into the database section as well. Yep.
So this is the same thing, you guys, that I am constantly thinking about. So I hire viral marketing, getviral.com. The owner and I own another company together, 1,000 calls a day, and we went to college together. It's a great company. In essence, we have it's like 70,000 people on our email list, and we constantly send them video content twice a month. And at times I wonder, is this a good ROI? Well, I don't know if XYZ lead came directly from that. They'll just say, well, I know about your team. I get the videos. I see your moving truck. I talked to a friend of a friend who said you guys are really good. And so I love the strategy, because what you're doing is you're adding an additional layer to getting your face in front of someone, helping them recognize your brand, helping them trust you. And just like Coca-Cola, it obviously does work in getting in front of somebody.
You're adding the psychological touch.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if it's the handwritten note, if it's the phone call, if it's the email, if it's the video in the email, and then they saw the wrapped vehicle, and then the other things. Yep. They're getting reminded that you're there. And I've heard numbers that they need to see you within, I think it was every 13 days.
Jeez.
Good Lord.
Something from you. I believe it.
Meant that kind of thing. I mean, we see Coca-Cola stuff all the time, and so it makes sense. But, every 13 days or
thanks
so.
to you and watching this hangout. Yeah, I can't. It's burned into my retinas because of the thing that's over your left shoulder.
Oh, good point. I didn't even notice that. That's hilarious.
How did you not notice that, Jeff? Come on now.
I was looking at Scott's eyes, man.
That's my mini fridge.
Get with it. All right. So, Jeff, is there anything else that you want to cover on analytics before we talk a little bit about accountability of the agents?
No, I think we hit it, man. I think that answered the question. The one thing I do want to make sure we make mention of, for anyone new or watching this, and I think Scott will agree with me, I don't think mailing is going to be like the solution right away. I feel like that mailing piece is more of a larger game plan, maybe a 5-year plan. I don't know that that's something, Scott, if someone asked you, where do I put my first 1,000? I don't know that you'd say, go shotgun a postcard.
No, what we want to always see is a year commitment.
Okay.
If you can't commit to a year marketing budget on a farm, it's not going to be worth it.
Yep.
But we also want to pay attention to where we're doing it. We don't want to just choose a farm based on, oh, I love that area. We want to look at the turnover rate. We want to look and see what that price point is and make sure that that's going to be fine. If we look at the turnover rate and the price point, are we going to make enough off of that to justify the mailings?
Right.
And we also want to look and make sure that we don't have a dominant agent in that area. If we've got a dominant agent, we want to see how dominant are they? What are they doing in farming? Can we do it better?
Yep.
And play with that. One of the things that we've done is we have the whole zip code as a domain. Doesn't mean that we market to the whole zip code for like 85234. We only do like a small square of it. On the other side, there's a neighborhood called Val Vista Lakes that is a great neighborhood. People love it. And once they move in, they're likely not going to go. It's got a much lower turnover rate.
Right.
And so for us, we go, oh, that's the neighborhood I would love to farm. The price point is much better. It's a fun neighborhood and all that stuff. Well, it may not be the best to farm. And so we identified the areas that were better, the routes, because we're going to mail to every home. Want to make sure that those routes are better. And so we're going to choose that farm smartly from a business mindset. Yeah. And then we're going to look and see, can I budget a year? Because chances are you're not going to get any business. When Kenny first started farming, he got a listing call and went and listed it on the first mailer. He's like, this is great.
Nice.
And it was 7 more months he didn't get a single lead.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he had to keep justifying to his wife, hey, I really believe in this. We're going to keep sending this. And she's like, it's expensive. He goes, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then on that 8th month, he had 3. And from then on, we've been solid.
Well, that's the evolution of a lead.
Because they're nurtures too.
Yeah.
Most farming leads are nurtures. You got to understand they're going to be that far out. And so don't plan to make any money on that campaign for 6 to 9 months. If you do, be pleasantly surprised. But make sure you have that budget for 12 months. Yep. And from then on, then do it. If you can't do that,
then don't do it.
Don't worry
just lower the dollar amount. If you were thinking $3,000 for 6 months, cut that in half, go $1,500 for a year. And I parrot that. I totally agree. That applies to every type of marketing.
And then you grow with revenue.
Generation.
Yeah.
So Scott, let me ask you about the other lead gen vehicles. You had mentioned, I think, Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com, Google AdWords, Facebook ads. Are you doing any of that?
We're doing Zillow. We play the Zillow game pretty well.
It's a new game, I understand, too, right?
Yeah, I mean, fill out your profile, have people do reviews,
Yep.
and make sure your properties are showing up.
Okay. So you're
It's easy.
not paying.
No.
You're not paying.
Sounds like a tall order.
Yeah, we do pay in some of our zips to make sure that we pop up.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's tough to gauge on Zillow which ones are paid and which ones are organic.
Okay.
Which ones are popping up just on our listings. Which
Right.
I can tell you that in playing the Zillow game and making sure that we're in there, because we do a lot of stuff in very local areas. We do get listings because people look up the agent and who does the most production.
We do too. So guys, this is great advice. One of the things that I've done, and Scott probably has something similar built into his system, is when one of our contracts goes pending, in BoomTown, we have a drip email that automatically goes out and it says, thanks so much for working with us. We're excited to watch this go all the way to close. Please take a moment to review me on, and we give them links to wherever we want the review, Facebook, Google+, and Zillow. But now we've been using a testimonial site where you can go out and ask people to rate you or rate your agent and get feedback from them, called Real Satisfied. And Real Satisfied now syndicates with like 6 or 7 different companies, including Zillow. And so after closing, we have one of our admin, one of their steps is to call and thank people for working with us and ask them to take that survey. It's like a 20-minute survey, and at the end they can put in a testimonial there, and that's been working really well. So it's free to use Zillow. It only costs money if you start to pay for all the upgrades, but you might as well take advantage of at least linking yourself to all the listings that you have on the market.
And on our dashboards that we have around the office, we do track the last 12 months of Zillow, Google, Facebook, and Yelp reviews.
Awesome.
And we see, Steve is at the top right now with 38. Kenny's next with 26. Corey's next with 26. And they get competitive. The agents do.
That's awesome.
That's
I love
cool,
it.
man.
Yeah, because that's something you guys can make part of the Geckoboards, is that whether they get a review or the quality of it on the backside of the transaction?
Yeah, so
I don't know that.
we use Google Sheets, and so we just have an extra sheet in there that when it comes in, either me or Samantha, my amazing EA, will just plug it in real fast. All we put in is the date, the name of the agent, the score, because we track that, and we're seeing that even though Steve has the most reviews, his are at 4.97 instead of 5.
Oh.
And then so then it just pulls automatically onto the scoreboard from there.
Yeah, yeah. So that is something Kevin can build in, because that's exactly how ours pull into the Geckoboards. All right, cool. So Scott, I want you to cover very, very briefly the Agent Olympics and the one-on-ones that you guys do and how you guys structure those, so people can learn kind of how you hold your agents accountable, and then we'll shut this one down. Cool.
Absolutely. So we have our Agent Olympics. Those are fun. Most of the agent accountability happens on a daily basis. Dashboards are insane in just getting people motivated, getting them to know their numbers. We focus on written to goal because our agents, some of them are farming a big farm and they're listing agents. Some of them are buying agents. Some of them are both as they're building a farm. And so they'll have different amounts. Like Travis is right now, his goal is 4 a month. Mark's is 5. Twilis is 5. Corey's is 10 a month. And so everybody's not on an even playing field, right? If Corey's got 8 and Steve and Twila's got 4, Twila's actually doing better than Corey. And so we want to bring it to that level. And so we do what they've done versus their goal. And so if they're at 125%, somebody's at 60%, 125% is winning, even though he may have less actual contracts. And so the way that we do it is just on a regular Google Sheets. We've got a little graph, and it shows everybody and how much they've done. And we've got a little red line, and the red line is tied to the day of the month. And so right now it's the 9th, and every month on this graph is 30 days. But it moves up and down based on the day. So if they're ahead of goal, they're above the red line. If they're below the goal, they're below the red line. And it's pretty easy to do. It's just spreadsheet. Yep. And so they see that every single day. They also see all of our other numbers, but that's where their eyes are going to go. We have another leaderboard that's for volume because they like to play that way. We use conditional formatting. You can Google that. It's a pretty easy thing to do on Google Sheets, and it changes the color of the cells based on what's in it. And so if they get to 1 million in volume, then it turns green. If they get up to, I think it's 2 million, it turns a darker green. A couple months ago, Steve hit 3, and it didn't change the color.
Uh-oh.
And so he came in, and he says,
it didn't go to the deep hue of chartreuse that he expected.
he said, can we have a different color when it hits 3 million? Because I hit 3 million. And so we added gold, and I'm waiting for him to hit 3.5 so he can come in and say, can we have like a platinum or something?
Diamond.
They get motivated.
At some point, it'll just be invisible.
Impossible.
One of our agents, he's generally right at the top of written goal, and last month he had big goose egg at the end of the month, and it was just so crazy for him. It just, things didn't add up that month, and his office is right next to the board, and so he had to look at it every single day. And then we were trying to figure out if we could turn the board around so it goes through the glass.
So he could see nothing but that the entire time.
He's like, I know.
That's awesome.
But I'll tell you, so we do things like our Agent Olympics and things like that. It's nothing as motivating as just seeing your numbers versus everyone else's numbers.
Yeah.
And creating a culture in the office that's a fun, competitive. It's not like an auto dealership where they're fighting to get, the walk-ins that are coming in and beating each other down. They're sharing with other agents, but it's a fun, competitive. They do side bets based on the numbers that they see. Some of them are cash. Some of them are just plain ridiculous. I think one of them was, if they would win, then they challenge. We've got a former professional baseball player that they challenged each other to a foot race in the parking lot or something like that. But
hey guys, if you want to see an example of what we're talking about Geckoboard, Geckoboard.com. You have to create a Google sheet, and essentially ties into the Geckoboard. And my understanding is with Keller Williams, it makes it a little easier because Keller Williams already has a piece of software that does something similar to the Geckoboard.
Yeah, it's CTE. Commitment to Excellence. We created our own just because we were doing that before CTE. Now we would have done it, but we're already there. So, and we have a little bit more control. But
it's really awesome. You can do customizations endless. If someone wants to just see what it looks like, I know we brought this up in the past, but if you're a new audience member, go out and check out dashboard.omahaselite.com. And dashboard1.omahaselite.com and dashboard2.omahaselite.com will give you even more information. You can see what we're talking about. But, I mean, the sky's the limit. Like Scott shared with the audience, you can write certain code inside Google Sheets so that things show up differently. And if you just Google search Geckoboard and click on images, you will see some crazy stuff. I don't know how they build in some of the stuff that's in there in terms of tracking mechanisms. But for a real estate team, you can keep it pretty simple.
Mm-hmm. And we don't have any real strong spreadsheet people on our team. I built it, and the way that people go, how did you build this like Google Sheets thing? How'd you know how to do it? And I said,
amazing.
This is an amazing thing. It's called Google.
Just tell me you built the software. The answer is always,
if you don't know how to Google, if you don't know how to use Google's software, you just Google it.
And if you're like an individual agent going, I don't have the time to do that, or you're a small 1 or 3 person team or whatever, there is a great product called Pipeline Wizard, which is run by a friend, Jesse Garcia, who's a KW agent and team leader, and that is developed first for the individual agent and then for the team as well to track all those, and has very similar. A similar look to Geckoboards for the individual sales tracking. So there's other ways to do it without getting into the Google Sheet builder.
And the point is creating that culture. And we did the same thing. We have a big 80-inch flat screen in our big open, big room, and everyone can always see it. And it's always measuring, and it's helping people stay accountable to what they've promised themselves. And I love, Scott, what you said about your agents set their own goals and they get rewarded for reaching that goal, independent of people can be different. Too often as team leaders, we tell everyone what to accomplish, when really we need to treat each person like they're a different person, because they are. And so we allow our agents to set their own goals and then hold them accountable to that goal and coach to that goal. And then, of course, report up on that Geckoboard. And ours, when they hit goal in the month, their number turns green. So if they're at 2 sales, but their goal was 3, at 2 sales, it's white. Once they hit their goal, it goes green, and it stays green. So we'll have to think about changing the color if they go beyond the goal to gold or platinum or something like that. I like that. I didn't know that existed.
Another thing that we do is we reforecast. So let's say, Travis didn't get anything last month. He still wants to hit that GCI goal because his goals are based on his GCI goal, right?
Right.
So something's got to change. If he didn't hit the goal this month, then he has to do more the next month. And so throughout the year, right after the first of the month, we go and we reforecast all those. So we sit in our sales team meeting and we say, hey, you're above. Where do you want to take some off? And so if they exceeded their goal and they've got a vacation planned in July, they can remove writtens that they need in July because they're exceeding their goal. Conversely, you've got to bump yours up. Where do you want to do it? And they'll always go December, November. It's like, well, no, those are lower months traditionally. Right. You got to hit those in. And then once we get to the fall, there's just no room to put those because we do work on a calendar year. So we stop doing the reforecasting about October or so because it just doesn't make any sense. And agents are generally, some of them are behind, but in the bulk of the year, we're going to reforecast, and so that goal is going to change. So it's not always 4 for Travis. Sometimes it's going to be 5. Sometimes it's going to be 3.
So from a cultural standpoint, going back to Matt's accountability question, obviously we've talked about Geckoboards and how to motivate that way and how we track it within the boards. How are you holding your agents accountable to doing the things that they know they need to be doing and you know they need to be doing? How are you holding them accountable to that on a weekly, monthly basis? So monthly, and not every month we'll surprise them. Usually it's once every 2 months, and then we'll do 2 in a row or not. We do have our Agent Olympics, and that's where we pull up our agent accountability stats on BoomTown. We pull up some of the other things that we're looking at. If we're doing door knocking, we'll look at those numbers as they report those in their 411s. Our 411s are the little one-on-one coachings. Kenny and I, we're changing the way that we do that. Right now we're just now moving. We've done it separately. Now we're trying to keep the conversation going. So we're using OneNote and putting in notes for those so that we can both see those and continue that conversation. Our agents are able to pull up their own stats regularly too from all of our spreadsheets on Google. We just created an agent-specific one where they can see, what their turnover rate is, what their days on market are, what their list price to sales price ratio is. They can see what their funnel is as far as what's in the hopper for closing, for cash flow management. They can see what they've got closing in different months, what they can expect to see from there. It's got their GPS, which is it's a Keller Williams thing. We require all of our agents to do a business plan every year, and so it's a 135 or a GPS. It's what is their GCI? That's the number one thing. What are 3 priorities that they can do to hit that? And for each of those 3 priorities, there's going to be 5 strategies. Okay. And we want to see those as quantifiable, not quality, but quantifiable. Right. So how often are you having a conversation about the 411 or the 135?
Twice a month. Kenny's going to have it once. I'm going to have it once with them. And then for our Agent Olympics, we pull in numbers. We never tell them exactly what we're going to be measuring. And so sometimes it's time to first call. Sometimes it is.
Do you know what your team's average time to first call is right now?
It depends. We try to. We have an on-call person, and so during the day it's real quick. It's within that 5 minutes because everybody's got floor time on a rotating basis.
Your agents do. You don't have an ISA that does that.
No, we did for a while, and the agents had to pay an extra split for that. They decided to take it back with the floor time.
Yep, we do the same.
They just rotate through, and they like it so much better that way.
What are their floor time hours?
9 to 5, and then so during that time, all the leads go to them, all the internet leads. Yep. The phone is still the same. It rings to everybody, and it rings for about 3 rings in the office, and then after that, it rings to all their cell numbers. Whoever picks it up.
What software do you use for that?
We actually have an IP phone now.
Okay.
So we switched over to IP. It's a Polycom. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
We looked at some of those other ones and ended up switching our office over to IP.
All right, so you were going through and I interrupted. So you said you checked the time to first call. What would be some other things you're looking at?
Some other things that we're looking for is how many, the least number of active leads without a to-do.
Yeah.
We're looking at e-alerts.
Do they have to use to-dos?
Go out?
I know some agents don't want to use to-dos. They just make sure people within each category are called a certain amount of times. Is your expectation that every lead in all active has a to-do attached to it?
Oh, I don't have expectations.
Okay, your requirement.
Yes, we have standards, and the standard is that they're using to-dos.
Semantics. I love you, Scott. I agree, dude. What is your standard?
The standard is that they're going to be using to-dos on all active leads, that they're going to have an active e-alert. Whether or not it's sending, if the client doesn't want it, that's great, but we've got an e-alert there. And that the e-alert is agent edited, which means if the client created it, we're going to go in and make sure that it's not going out too frequently, because they're going to unsubscribe. If they unsubscribe to that, they're going to unsubscribe to everything. And so we want to pay attention to those things. We want to make sure that we're making phone calls and not just texting, not just emailing. So we're going to look at all those things.
How often do they need to engage with a lead? Let's say that's in your nurture, and I don't know what your parameters are, but our nurture is anyone 3 to 6 months. Our watch is anyone 6 months or longer. What's your expectation of how often they need to communicate with the leads, depending on which category they're in?
All they got to do, we have our set drips, our smart drips, and those smart drips have phone calls and texts in there, and the to-dos. And so it's real easy if they're on the drip. The problem is that when they interact with you, that pauses the drip. So the agent then step in and do the to-dos. And the to-dos, I'm going to leave that to the agent. If it is, pretty far out, and the guy's like, hey, we're going to be coming back to Arizona in August, they don't need to be calling him. They set a to-do for July. And remind them. So we do have a transient population here that makes that a little bit easier. But for our Agent Olympics, we just post everybody's.
I got you. Yeah.
We just post where they are, and we give out.
Too easy.
It was too easy.
I was thinking it.
Yeah, exactly. A large transient population. I'm envisioning crowds of hobos. But anyway,
he's talking about the snowbirds from Nebraska flying down.
Yeah, exactly.
Degree weather.
All right, Scott. So speaking of like where you guys are at, so refresh our memory in terms of where you and your expansion teams are at, so we can keep you in mind for referrals and all that good stuff.
Arizona. If you're thinking about Arizona, give us a call.
Anywhere.
We do. Yeah, we're not down in Tucson at all or up north, but anywhere in Phoenix Metro. We'll be able to take care of folks. We've got agents that are all over the place here. We mostly focus on the East Valley, but we do a lot of business all over the place. And you can find us at klausteam.com. If you're really interested in going a little bit deeper on farming, we do have 2 different resources. One is more live action. One is more get it when you can. We have a real estate designation called CLME. That's CLME.com. And if you go there right now, if you're watching it live, just know that the website is being updated, and it's going to go down in about a week and then come back up fresh and new. So just keep that in mind. The other is through MAPS Coaching. Kenny and I are both MAPS coaches with KW, and we have a group coaching class that's called Farming Will Make You Millions. And if you just go to mapscoaching.kw.com, mapscoaching.kw.com, and just look for Farming Will Make You Millions. You can jump back in. You can jump in there. The next, we're in the middle of one, so the next one, I believe, starts in March. But that's 12 weeks of
standard map cycle, 3-month class. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, Jeff, and then you want to mention the workshops real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So Scott, I would love to have you out to the workshop. One of the things I have always offered is if you sell more real estate than I do, you're welcome to my workshop for free, because hopefully I'll also learn a lot from you. So you'd be welcome to come out. It's normally $3,000. We let affiliates come for free, so you would be an affiliate for us. You beat me in volume by about 5 million. So my goal this 2017 is to crush you. Our average sales price is like 200,000. That's why our units always are so high. But that's awesome. You guys are really similar to us. I think we'd have a lot to learn.
Yeah, we're 238 right now.
Okay,
238,000. Cool. Yep.
Cool. So our workshop is every month. We usually host 5 to 10 top teams. Our goal is to have people like yourself. And the workshop really wasn't designed for an individual wanting to go from 20 to 40. We'll let other people worry about that. We want to help people build massive, successful real estate teams that are legible, that drive millions of dollars of gross commission revenue. If that's something that's of interest to any audience member right now that hasn't taken advantage of it, go jump on our website. It's just eliterealestatesystems.com/workshops. And you can watch a little video about it. There's some testimonials on there. We hosted over 100 people in 2016. We expect to host 200 or 300 in 2017. And it's a great time. It's a whole day with me. It's we have my success manager that's going to be there as well, and our operations manager. And it's just high energy, big impact, value add, and everybody that has come has given us rave reviews. So we'd love to have you come check it out, Scott. And then, of course, any audience members out there that haven't done it yet, please come check it out. It's going to be a good time.
Great, thanks.
All right. Awesome, guys. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Team Building Podcast. Thank you so much, Scott, for being with us. I appreciate it. And everybody remember where to send him referrals and how to learn more about what they're doing down there. So again, guys, thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube if you like the video versions, or if you prefer the audio version nestled here in your ears, just go over to iTunes or Stitcher and subscribe there. And we'll see you guys on the next edition of the Team Building Podcast.
All right. Thanks, guys.